Did Delta just secretly reveal its next hub city? Come in and find out. Welcome to the lounge. What up, loungers? Thanks for tuning in. As always, hit that like and subscribe button. I was recently poking around online and came across something that seemed curious to me. And after I thought about it a while, I think Delta just kind of, sort of secretly, quietly let the cat out of the bag, so to speak, on its next hub city location. Now, it's been no secret that Delta has been trying to make a push into the South, especially in Texas. Now, Texas is the home base of American Airlines. They've had a strong foothold there for years. They dominate the region. They are the major player. They have their hub cities established throughout Texas and other areas of the South. Delta is mainly in the Midwest, Eastern Seaboard, Pacific Northwest, and California. Delta has a strong presence in Florida and recently trying to expand that presence in Charlotte. But if you take a look at a map, it's a glaring open spot sort of in the very deep South, in the Texas region. And of course, that's because American's been so dominant there for so long. But American has had so many financial problems. They really made huge blunders leading up before the pandemic, while Delta and United spent money expanding routes, refurbishing planes, expanding their lounges. American took a different approach in the early, the middle aughts, I guess we'll say, where they aggressively did a lot of stock buybacks, and then the pandemic hit, and they were forced to go into debt to just be able to stay afloat. And what that means is they've had to sell off a lot of assets. They've had to give up routes. They've had to basically turn what was once a premium product into more of an economy product by cramming in more seats on their planes. They've lost a lot of business, a lot of routes. They've lost a lot of loyalty. Whereas Delta has been quietly pushing more and more into the southern region. Now, as you know, Delta has its hub cities of all the major airlines. Go check out our last episode before this one, where we talked about the hub and spoke system, where basically you concentrate into what are called hub cities. This is where you have your base of operations, mechanics, planes, pilot bases, things like that. And you funnel in a lot of the regional traffic into your hubs, and then get people onto bigger planes for longer haul routes, whether that be cross country or international. And so obviously Delta being the major player in Atlanta, one of the major players at LAX, one of the major players in Boston and New York, they're well suited for transcontinental and international routes. But there is sort of that gap, that hole in the South that could really provide them access to bigger markets, opportunities to grow some international routes. And so all airlines have their hubs, and then they have what they call focus cities. Delta traditionally, or up to this point, has had basically 3 focus cities. Now, over time, can a focus city become a hub? that's certainly kind of the idea of having a focus city, that one day, if business justifies it, the city grows big enough, demand grows big enough, maybe in the future it could become a hub city. But up to this point, Delta has not made these three focus cities into hubs. Now, what are these focus cities? Well, let's take a look at this article from Simply Flying. All right, so this article is from Simply Flying. It's called Delta Has Three Focus Cities, but only one is getting the love. And it's by Paul Hartley, and it was published back in March of 2026. And it basically reads, Delta Airlines has three focus cities across the United States. Airports not big enough to be hubs, but with significantly larger operations than a spoke destination. Yet not all of them are being treated the same way. Two are seeing the kind of modest, steady expansion that keeps an airport important within the network. One, however, is getting the sort of route additions, capacity growth, and long-term attention that suggests Delta sees something much bigger on the table. That airport is Austin Bergstrom International Airport, AUS. Using data from Cirium DO to compare blah, 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 Delta has grown its capacity at Austin by more than 12% year over year. This is far ahead of its two other focus cities, Raleigh-Durham International Airport, RDU, which is experiencing a 2% increase over the same period, and Cincinnati, Northern Kentucky, CVG, which is essentially flatlining. Now, again, if you watch that previous video, you know that Cincinnati back in the day was a hub for Delta. They gave up it as they gave Cincinnati up as a hub status when they expanded to more regions in the Northeast, but it's still a focus city because they still have a strong presence there. The article continues to say, while RDU and CVG are still meaningful Delta stations, it is becoming clear that Austin is the only one of the three where the airline currently looks to be pushing hard enough to reshape its position in the market. Austin is pulling away is the sub-headline there. The gap is striking because Delta still matters a great deal in the other two focus cities. At RDU, Delta has overtaken American Airlines to become the airport's largest airline by flights and seats. Data shows it will operate over 10,000 flights to and from RDU in the second quarter of 2026, giving it a 28% market share compared to the 26% of its legacy rival. As it expects to offer nearly 5 million seats at RDU this year, it's clear that Raleigh-Durham is not some neglected outpost. There's some debate about whether Cincinnati is even a focus city. Delta removed it as one in 2021, along with San Jose and Nashville. Boo about Nashville, only because I'm going there for my birthday next month. But also, I find that a little bit surprising because just recently, like a little over a year ago, maybe a year and a half ago, they opened up a new lounge in Nashville, and it was great. I'm excited to try that lounge again because last time I was there, they had this great like Nashville barbecue at the buffet. It was like really nice. I mean, it wasn't the biggest lounge in the world, but it was pretty nice by a lot of lounge standards. So I'm kind of sad to hear they're saying it's no longer considered to be a focus city, but maybe that will change because Nashville is definitely a popular tourist spot. But the airline still discussed it in that context as recently as last year. Nevertheless, it remains important. Again, still talking about Cincinnati here, even if it is nowhere near the force it once was. when Cincinnati was one of Delta's major hubs. The carrier flies to 20 destinations from Cincinnati, many of them non-hub, point-to-point flying, such as Newark, Tampa, Las Vegas. Also operates nonstop service to Paris. Yet Austin feels very different, the article continues. And that's because the airline keeps treating it differently. And Delta has not exactly hidden its views on Austin. In announcing more Austin growth, Senior Vice President of Network Planning Paul Baldoni said, quote, Delta is building on a strong foundation in Austin and creating more ways for our customers to get where they want to go. We are very focused on delivering the network convenience and premium experience that sets Delta apart as Austin's leading global carrier, unquote. That is not how airlines talk about a market they are merely defending. It is how they talk about one they are actively trying to win. All right, so now we're coming up in the article on a cool little graph. The subheading here says, the route map tells the story. What makes Austin different is the sheer volume of new flying. Since the start of 2025, Delta has added or announced 17 new routes from Austin, representing a broad mix of business and leisure destinations. It is not just one burst of growth either. Delta has kept layering in new markets on top of its earlier additions as it sees increased opportunities for growth. As a result, the new routes range from core domestic markets like New Orleans, Denver, Miami, San Francisco, and Kansas City to more leisure-centric destinations like Cancun or Panama City. It also hasn't been afraid to make tactical additions, adding seasonal weekend getaway flights to the likes of Bozeman, Kalispell, and Asheville. In addition to all that, the carrier has also been increasing frequencies from Austin to its core hub in Atlanta, set to get up to 10 daily flights this summer. All right, so then there's a chart of new routes that Delta has added, 17 of them from Austin, again, to a lot of sort of, we'll call them party cities or vacation cities. So it's you know, it starts going into a market for business reasons because that's where, you know, your high price flyers are. That's what gets you the good foothold. And then once you got the business travelers, well, in their spare time, you know, they have weekends, they have things they want to do. So once you've got them in your loyalty program, you know, let's start offering them other places to go for their free time. Article continues saying this volume is what makes the comparison between Raleigh and Cincinnati so sharp. Raleigh has seen some additions, but on a much smaller scale. Delta added Kansas City and resumed Indianapolis, while also introducing Saturday winter service to San Juan. Cincinnati, meanwhile, has remained far quieter, with no new routes in more than a year, but neither are seeing anything like Austin's sustained wave of growth, and the imbalance is not subtle. Why Delta keeps choosing Austin. Delta's increased focus on Austin is the result of multiple business drivers. The first is simple. Austin offers more upside. Austin sits in one of the country's most attractive growth markets with a business mix that fits Delta's premium heavy strategy unusually well. Delta has made clear in recent years that it wants more than just filled seats. It wants high-value customers, stronger corporate relevance, deeper loyalty engagement, and more premium revenue. Austin is an ideal fit for that model. Another reason is competitive timing. American Airlines has cut over 35 routes in Austin in the past couple of years, a major reversal of the airline's 2021 strategy to establish a focus city there. This has created the white space for Delta to fill and allows it to move up the pecking order without having to knock off an incumbent. That is especially important in Texas, a state that Delta cannot afford to ignore, but where it lacks a traditional hub. Raleigh and Cincinnati can still be profitable and strategically useful, but Austin offers something bigger, the chance to become structurally more important over time. Delta has also been positioning itself for Austin's next phase of growth. Austin Bergstrom and its airline partners finalized lease agreements in January to support the airport's multi-billion-dollar expansion program. This includes the new 26-gate Concourse B, slated to open in the early 2030s, while the existing Barbara Jordan terminal will be developed into a modernized Concourse A. Under this agreement, Delta Airlines will become the Concourse A anchor tenant with 15 gates, a sharp increase from the 4 gates it has today, quadrupling almost. That's crazy. That matters because more flying today helps Delta strengthen its long-term claim on Austin tomorrow. By growing aggressively at Austin now, Delta is not only replacing an arch rival, but also ensuring it has a larger stake in the airport's future as new capacity comes online. In another clue that Delta is perhaps got its eye on Austin as a hub city, is that it just opened up a flight attendant's base there. So now it's got a home base for flight crews in Austin, which makes it a lot easier to increase flights. Flights get canceled, or a plane needs to be changed out, or a crew gets sick. Right now, if a flight gets delayed from Atlanta to Austin, and that was your crew, to get you on your flight from Austin to wherever you're going, you might be out of luck because there's no crew to fill the plane that you're going to fly on. In order to get your flight out, they have to then fire up a crew from another city, another location, fly them in, get them onto your plane, or rearrange schedules to do something like that. By now having a flight attendant base in Austin, you got more crew availability. So they're definitely making some moves that indicate Austin's on their radar to be the next hub city. But we got a lot more clues, and I will reveal the one that I recently found right here at the end of the video that I really think is the proof that, for all intents and purposes, Delta has decided Austin's going to be a hub city. I want to take a look at another article. All right, this time it's from the website The Cranky Flyer. This article is from April of 2026, and it's titled, "For Delta Slow and Steady Wins the Race." All right, this article takes a look at Delta's hub city locations and sees how it compares to its competition in those markets. Now, interestingly, it goes through all the hubs and has one chart in here that's a little bit out of place, and it's the one for Austin. The article says, "I'm going to cheat a little. This isn't a hub for Delta, but it's a growing focus city, so I threw it in anyway. Hello, Austin." I think everyone in the industry is getting the sense that Delta just isn't dabbling in Austin. They're definitely coming for Austin. And I think I think everybody thinks Delta has identified Austin finally as the hub city they can get into to get a foothold into the Texas South market area. But look at this chart. It's very interesting. Now, Southwest is the dominant player there in yellow, with 35-40% of the market share. American Airlines was the next dominant in Austin. Delta was always the third. But just within the last year, Delta has overtaken American Airlines to become the second largest carrier in Austin. The article says, with American having built a hub post-pandemic, it's easy to overlook that the number one airline in Austin is and always will be Southwest. Southwest has actually strengthened its position in the market since the pandemic, but Delta has slowly and significantly built up Austin to become the number 2 airline. It has designs on more growth when Austin finally gets new gates in a few years, and I expect it will cement its position then. But it is highly unlikely we'll ever see Delta become number 1 in this market. Well, I wouldn't be too sure about that. Wait till those new 15 gates open, and if Americans' financial troubles continue, who might step into the spot American has? All right. Next up is an article from The Points Guy titled, this is from July 2026, so just a couple weeks ago. Delta to offer more connections in Austin Focus City. Will it ever be a hub? Yes, that's the question we're asking. Article reads, Austin isn't technically a Delta Airlines hub city, but the Lone Star State's capital sure has the airline's attention these days. Looking at a U.S. map, you'd be hard-pressed to find another city that has seen Delta jets roll into town at the pace Austin has seen in recent years, a product of the carrier doubling down on its longtime focus city. This year, Delta is set to fly 85% more departures from Austin than it did just 3 years ago, according to data from aviation analytics firm Cirium. The airline is also set to get more than a dozen new gates, as we just read in the other articles, part of the expansion at the Austin airport. And the carrier tells the Points Guy website that renovation includes a new centrally located Sky Club, which Delta confirms will complement its existing Austin outpost. That means it's going to have 2 Sky Clubs at Austin. Two. I've only got 3 at Minneapolis. Let me just make that, and look at the mock up there, or is this the current one? Oh boy, that's nice. Oh, what's the new one going to look like? Delta, more leisure routes coming to Austin. After announcing routes to places like Phoenix and San Jose, California, Delta will soon boast service to 9 of the top 10 metropolitan areas for Austin-based flyers and most of the domestic cities for business travelers. That's a key for a city like Austin that has blossomed into a major tech hub this century and is home to the University of Texas. But those passengers turned SkyMile members need a place to go on weekends, what I was just talking about. All right, so I just want to scroll down to this interesting chart here. So this is the 2023 Delta Airlines route map from Austin. Okay, that was in 2023. You can see they flew to a handful of cities. Okay, about a dozen or so. That's all they had going on. And then you flip to the next slide. 2026, boom. Go back to 2023. Sparse, boom. Flying to a lot more cities. So in 2019, they only had 28 departing flights from Austin. Now up to 2026, 65 departing flights. So in 7 years, they've more than doubled the number of flights. Now, here's the next key. potential for international Austin service. So the article continues, with all that growth, it's fair to wonder whether Delta's Austin map could someday include long-haul international service. Okay. Which another website called View from the Wing recently reported could be on the horizon. So, and this article was written June of 2026, titled Delta Airlines set to launch Austin to Paris flights next summer as its big Texas bet goes international. And this is by Gary Leff, who writes, a year ago, I exclusively revealed that Delta Airlines would build a brand new 30,000 square foot Sky Club at the Austin airport and potentially keep their current Sky Club 2, which sits behind the international gates. Then I broke the news in February that they had committed to this plan exactly. Way to go, Gary. Love it when somebody gets a scoop like that. Bullet points for this article are: Delta has surpassed American to become the second largest airline in Austin. They plan significant growth, 15 gates. The second club by the international gate is meant to be repurposed as a Delta One business class lounge. Okay. So the club they have now is going to become a Delta One, and then they're going to build a new regular Sky Club. So look at this. They are going to be expanding internationally. That is a nice looking Sky Club. I gotta admit. Wow, an outdoor seating area. Wow. I got to get down to Austin. I've never been. Put in the chat below. Let me know if you've been to the Delta Sky Club currently in Austin, and what do you think of it? How does it compare? Yeah, that's exciting. Hey, I like more lounges to go check out, right? Well, I love going to the same ones over and over again. Anytime they open up a new one, boom, got to go check it out, right? So, yeah, they're basically reporting that they're planning the Paris flight next summer. Okay, now, this one's exciting as well. So that's going east, in the easterly direction, going to Europe. But what about west in Asia? Well, another article from View from the Wing, again by our guy Gary Leff. This one's from a few months ago, back in March. Austin may finally get its first Asia nonstop. Delta and Korean Air in talks with Samsung about Seoul. So that would be very exciting. Article says Delta discussions are underway with Korean Air, Delta, and Samsung for a Seoul-Austin flight. There has been some interest in this. Austin's first Asian nonstop for about 8 years, disrupted by the pandemic, but Samsung's plant makes this more viable, and subsidies match. All right, so basically, Samsung has built a big plant in Austin. They're based in Korea, so I'd make a natural fit for an Austin Delta or Austin South Korea nonstop flight. Delta would be a great fit for that. Okay, so all of this is to say those are nice breadcrumbs, but what's the definitive proof that Delta is planning to make Austin into a new hub city? Well, the other day I was poking around on Delta's shopping website, where I like to go once in a while to get some cool gear like t-shirts and like this cool hat. Oh yeah, I like that. Yeah. And you know what? I know it's geeky and nerdy and whatever. And I like wearing this stuff on the plane because the flight attendants and the pilots was like, hey, whoa, cool. Nice shirt, nice hat. And they're like, do you work for Delta? And I'm always like, nope, just the #1 fan. Always gets the attention. But I always like to see, you know, what did they come out with? What's the new merchandise? Got anything on sale? They always have sales going on when they, like a lot of their 100-year branded logo stuff from last year that they rolled out for the 100th anniversary is now on clearance sale. You know, limited sizes. They don't usually have a lot of sizes I need for those clearance items, but they're always coming out with new stuff. So I always like to check out, see what's new. And they've just come out with this new collection of merchandise. All right, so we are on the Delta Shop site. And I was just poking around, and I noticed they've got this new collection here. You can see scrolling through called Hub Love. Hub Love? What the heck is Hub Love? So it says, rep your city's roots in our new Hub Love collection. Shop the collection. So we dive into this, and they've got different cities. So like here's Hub Love ATL, and they've got whole collections of for their hubs. So they've got obviously Georgia, known as the Peach State. So they've got these pint glasses, water bottles, shirts, keychains, all with the Love ATL logo on it, with the peaches on it. And every one of the hub cities has their own sort of special logo here. Boston has these pretty flowers. Go down to Minneapolis, where I'm based. MSP, they got one for Amsterdam. That's interesting. LAX. I'm definitely going to pick up New York LaGuardia. I'm definitely going to pick up these pint glasses for MSP. This is pretty cool. Now, why is it apples? Well, Minnesota is famous to have the University of Minnesota invented the Honeycrisp apple. New York is known as the Big Apple. We're known as the Mini Apple, Minneapolis, right? Okay, whatever. So we got apples as the logo there. But if you go back to the Hub Love site, and you see all the cities there, and conspicuously, what is this? There's Hub Love Austin. Austin? Hub Love AUS Pocket Tee. With its vibrant blue bonnet design, this shirt captures the creative, easygoing spirit of Austin, Texas. Clean, simple, and unmistakably Texan. But Austin isn't a hub city. And yet, in their new Hub Love collection, they've got Austin apparel included. So, folks, if you ask me, that's definitive proof that even though they haven't officially announced it yet, Austin is going to be a hub city. And I think the fact that they're rolling out merch advertising it as a hub location means it's going to be designated as a hub city very quickly, a lot sooner than people think. Let me know what you think, folks. If you like this content, again, like and subscribe. Thanks for watching. Appreciate all of you. And we will see you next time at the lounge.